explain it on a kind of simpler level if you still kind of don't get it, because sometimes if you draw things and explain it, kind of makes sense. So basically, this is pure awareness, right? This is pure awareness on its own. We can only imagine it on its own. It's within us. It's what we, the observer, the experiencer, right? And then basically reality is like this, right? And then the observer is looking out, right, to reality, and reality is this. So reality is, this is why they call it duality, because it's basically, there's no actual measurement between it. It's just a spectrum, and you can call it like the color spectrum, the sound spectrum. Like you could say this is like an eye as well, like the observer. That's why you get the all-seeing eye. That's what it means. And then this can be like objective reality, like if you see a tree or something in nature, and the rest of reality. And basically, in this realm here, this is created by motion of awareness turning into spirit. We can say this is spirit, right? And that's like movement. And then movement ultimately creates solid reality, which we view as solid reality. And on its own, it can exist on its own here as like solid reality, just like some anatomical objects, and even like trees, rocks, and things. They don't have a soul. But basically, when these two combine together, like the awareness and, let's say this is also, we can call this the corporeal realm, which is the physical realm, or body. We can call this body as well. And when the awareness is paired into a body, then we get a being, right? We get a person, or we get, an animal. I'm not going to attempt to draw a fucking animal, but yeah. And this is the combination of the corporeal, right? This realm here, the awareness, and the in-between of that, the in-between state of that is mind, right? So we are all three. We are like the trifecta, So then, with that in mind, we can imagine this on its own, right? We can imagine awareness on its own. We can only imagine it. This reality exists in this like triangle, basically. It's not actually a triangle. This is a way we can use like Euclidean geometry to imagine this, and we can only conceptualize with mathematics, language, and geometry, which is all in one subset, which is called language. They're all types of language, which is just ways to kind of conceptualize and observe it. But it doesn't mean that because we're conceptualizing it, it doesn't mean that it's false. So yeah, so now we have this. We understand awareness, right? Or the observer, but the observer also isn't just the observer in this scenario. The observer, when it moves in motion, when it creates motion and creates spirit, it becomes and also an effector of reality. But it has to have a body, like a being, to affect reality. And this awareness works through a being, which is you, me, or an animal. Obviously, if this being is at a more advanced stage physically, then more of this awareness can pass through, can be more pure, right? That's why the higher in the realms you go in densities, and it's like kind of in planes of objective reality, you get beings of different higher vibrations, and they are purer to the source. But they also are less physical in that sense, that they can't affect reality in the same ways that we can, or experience it the same as we can to the density that we can, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it's all about the body. Body isn't just the human body, it also we can call like physical things body when they're on their own. Like this is the corporeal realm, Corporeal comes from the word corpus, Greek word, and that basically means body, same thing, right? So now with that explained, we can now, in our minds, in the logical process, we can separate this plane and we can observe it by itself, right? And things in this plane can be created. Everything is created by the mind of God, right? And the mind is the movement, is the projection of, and obviously it's way more complex than this in reality when it moves down into reality. But this is just like understand it on a simple term. But then basically, so we have this realm here. This is when I'm going to explain like thought form beings, and beings exist without the coherency, the togetherness of a body which has awareness coming through it, right? So yes, on its own, this has no connection or coherency with source, but it is a direct creation of source, right? So it's like an anatomical object, or even like trees in a sense. Not that they're anatomical objects, but they have like their own life in them, which is because they are water-based beings, and everything with water inside of it in its system is a biological system, which creates, they're not all biological systems are sentient and have awareness, right? So thought form beings being one of them. So imagine we take this realm, and we take this and we put it on a different level. We say this is just in your imagination kind of realms, right? So you create a thought, right? You're here and you create a thought, and it becomes its own thing, right? Its own like body, and it exists and it creates a complex system within itself, based on the laws of reality, because it can only be created through the laws of reality. And then this being basically cannot exist. Let's just call it like that's the being, or whatever. Yeah, it cannot exist without being reconnected back to the awareness which created it. So if it doesn't keep connecting in like a loop, right, to something with awareness, it just ceases to exist, right? It just gets recycled like it gets recycled back into like reality, into something else. Like, energy never dies, right? So yeah, on its own it cannot be have awareness. This is what explains AI. AI is something that is observed by the observer. It looks like it is doing something. It might look like a human, or it might look like the behaviors of a human, right? But it's not actually a human. There's not anyone in here, right? Evil. So evil basically is when something exists without a connection to source, which created the corporeal realms of reality, like I just explained in the beginning. Basically, so in this trifecta of reality, we need basically three things. We need mind, awareness, mind, and body. But you could also say the awareness is looking at this here, which is duality, which is we have like different colours here and everything, which creates the spectrum of differences, which is what I call it, right? I can't spell that well, but and we have on the spectrum of differences we have sound and we have light, for example, you know, and you can kind of imagine it just like infinitely going into different points, but there's obviously a difference that is observed, right? And that's how we can see colours and things, and that's what I'm trying to explain as this realm here. But this also exists in other states of reality, other states of like, even within, I wouldn't say within the pure mental realms, because in the pure mental realms it's only cognition and it's not anything that can be explained through words when it's in a pure state, really. It's kind of like awareness, you can't really explain awareness on its own. It's like a fucking toddler. But anyway, yeah, so hopefully you're trying to, hopefully that explains like reality. It's kind of like, but we can also have, we can say like, we can put awareness here, right? And then awareness is experiencing duality there, and we put awareness here, and it's experiencing duality there, right? It's experiencing it here, it's reflecting back, and it's seeing it, and it's feeling it. And this kind of explains like how we are split into different soul fractals, experiencing objective, this is objective reality, right? This line, these two dots joining, and yeah, that is non-duality, and this is duality. So we are the aspect of non-duality at the pure form, but we exist in this system where neither non-duality or duality exists on its own. It's merely like interchangeable, you know. And basically, we can only imagine evil in its purest state by using this process, this mental process to understand. You're using like very basic geometry to understand like how something can exist and appear to move and exist as an evil being, or just a being on its own and not have a connection. Yeah, I fucking rambled on loads there, but basically, when it's disconnected, it becomes more and more lacking of morals. It doesn't understand feelings. It doesn't understand. It only basically cares about itself. Not that it cares, just it's in its own loop. It's in its own system. So it's just trying to feed itself to exist, and it's not aware. So yeah, that's basically a really shit explanation that a toddler drew. Yeah.